Okay, so ready to dive into this idea of like radical abundance.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating concept.
We're looking at excerpts from A Vision for the Future.
Right.
And, it really makes you question everything we think we know about, like, well, everything.
Hmm.
Work, healthcare,
Yeah.
even death.
It really challenges you to rethink some pretty fundamental assumptions
It does.
about how the world works. One of the things that struck me
Yeah.
was this idea of the scarcity mindset, like
Yeah.
how deeply ingrained that is
Oh, absolutely. I
in
mean,
all of us.
it's like, it's human nature to think there's never going to be enough to go,
Hmm.
right, like enough money, enough resources, enough
Mhm.
time even.
And the excerpt really digs into that, suggesting that the scarcity mindset, it's not just in our heads, it's like literally woven into
Right.
the way our systems are set up.
And that's where this whole idea of industrial complexes comes in, right?
Exactly.
Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. So the author uses this term to talk about basically how entire industries can be built around managing problems instead of actually
Solving them.
getting rid of them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little like unsettling.
It is
Then you really,
it's kind of a disturbing thought.
yeah, and like they give some really interesting examples in the excerpt.
Yeah.
I mean, the classic one, the military-industrial complex, right?
Right, right. And it's almost a cliche at this point, but,
But it's true.
there's a reason it's become a cliche because it's like if we actually had world peace,
Right.
what would happen to,
Certain
Sure.
industries.
right. And then it gets, I don't know, even more like, I don't know, nuanced when you look at some of the other examples like the healthcare industrial complex.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one because it really makes you question,
Yeah.
like, if the focus is really on making people as healthy as possible,
Right.
or if it's about managing illness.
Yeah.
Like, what if the system profits more from us being sick
Exactly.
than from us actually being healthy?
See, it's a troubling thought. And then it gets even, I don't know, more, I don't know what the word is, but
More unsettling.
yeah. Yeah. When they talk about the homeless industrial complex.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a really powerful example.
Yeah.
Because it's not something it's not the first thing you think about.
You don't immediately think of that, right? But when you start to think about it, it's like, wow, there's
Makes you wonder
a whole system in place.
if anyone's incentives are actually aligned, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. Are we really trying to solve homelessness?
right.
Or are we just managing it?
Right. Because that's,
And who profits from that?
it's a whole industry in and of itself, right?
Exactly.
It makes you really think.
It does. It makes you question a lot of assumptions that
Yeah.
we take for granted.
Yeah. So we've been kind of, going down this rabbit hole of like how scarcity is like baked into everything.
Right.
But this excerpt doesn't like just leave us in this, bleak dystopian
Right.
worldview, right?
Right.
There's this like optimistic turn where they're saying like technology like actually could be the key to like unlocking abundance.
It might be the way out of the scarcity trap that we've been in for so long.
So what's your take on that? Like, is that too optimistic?
Well, it's always dangerous to make predictions about the future.
Right, right.
But the author lays out a pretty compelling case for how technologies like AI and robotics
Right.
could fundamentally change the game.
So we're talking like a real The Jetsons situation.
Well, not quite flying cars, at least not yet. But, the excerpt talks about things like
Yeah.
AI systems that can, manage entire cities,
Wow.
optimize resource allocation, personalize education, even diagnose diseases before symptoms appear.
Okay, so we're talking about like AI basically taking over a lot of those like complex tasks.
Hmm. Right, freeing us up
Yeah.
to focus on other things,
Yeah.
on things that maybe are more meaningful, more creative.
Okay, so that's the AI side. But what about like robotics? How does that fit into all of this?
Robotics is huge. The author imagines a future where robots are handling everything from manufacturing to, everyday chores.
Right, so no more of like doing the dishes. Robots are going to do that.
Exactly. Imagine like robots building houses in a matter of days.
Oh, wow.
3D printing entire structures,
Yeah.
No more housing shortages.
So it's like we're talking about like solving real world problems that we've always just kind of accepted.
Exactly. And it's not just about making our lives easier, although that's certainly part of it. It's about addressing some of the fundamental challenges that have plagued humanity for centuries.
So, okay, I have to ask though, in this future we're painting, like with the AI and the robots and the abundance everywhere, like what's the role of humans?
Right, it's a crucial question, and the author really grapples with it. He suggests that work as we know it, the 9 to 5 grind, that becomes a choice, not a necessity.
Okay, so it's like everyone's basic needs are met, and then people are free to, I don't know,
Yeah.
write poetry.
Exactly, or start businesses or travel the world. Or maybe they choose to devote their time to, scientific research or art or helping others.
So it's not that humans become obsolete. It's more like we're liberated to pursue what truly fulfills us.
Precisely.
Okay, that's a future I can get behind.
Mhm.
But the author also hints at some of the more, I don't know, ethically complex implications, right? Like
Oh,
with things like,
like life extension, human
right.
augmentation.
Yeah, like how far is too far?
Right, right. Those are some of the big questions the excerpt raises. And, there are no easy answers. But I think just asking those questions is an important first step.
Absolutely. So we're talking about a future where we might be able to live significantly longer, enhance our abilities in ways we can't even imagine right now. It's almost like, what does it even mean to be human in that kind of future?
It really makes you question everything. And I think that's part of the point of the excerpt, to get us thinking about these things now before they become reality.
Okay, so robots and AI and potentially living forever, it's a lot to
That
process.
really makes you think, right? And the author doesn't stop there. He takes it even further with this idea of moving from an ownership-based society to one based on access.
Yeah, the sharing economy, but on a whole other level.
Exactly. And it might sound kind of out there, but when you really think about it, in a world of true abundance,
Yeah.
does it really make sense for everyone to own everything? Take cars, for instance.
Okay, so instead of me owning my car, which, let's be real, sits in my driveway most of the day.
Right, exactly. You'd have access to a whole network of self-driving vehicles. Need to go somewhere, summon a car, it takes you there. No more worrying about parking, maintenance, insurance.
Hmm. I mean, it sounds efficient, but
Hmm.
I gotta say, the thought of not owning a car or a house or even my clothes, it feels a little strange.
It's a big shift, for sure. But think about it this way. Right now, we're kind of conditioned to accumulate stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
It's almost like a status symbol, right? He who dies with the most toys wins. But in a world where your basic needs are met, where you have access to anything you need, whenever you need it, would that really matter as much?
It makes you wonder, right? What would we value if we weren't so focused on just accumulating stuff?
Maybe we'd place more emphasis on experiences, relationships, personal growth.
It's like a whole different way of looking at, well, life.
Exactly. And I think that's what's so exciting about this whole discussion. We're not just talking about technological advancements. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how we think about ourselves and our place in the world.
So where do we go from here?
That's the big question, isn't it? And I think the answer is it's up to us. Technology is just a tool. We get to decide how we use it to shape the future.
So it's not like we're just along for the ride. We have agency.
Exactly. We have the power to choose the kind of future we want to create.
Well, this deep dive has definitely given us a lot to think about. From reimagining our relationship with work to grappling with the ethics of radical life extension. It's clear that the future holds immense possibilities, but also some pretty big questions we need to answer.
Absolutely. But I think that's part of what makes this whole exploration so fascinating.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this. As we stand on the brink of this technological revolution, let's remember that the pursuit of abundance shouldn't just be about material wealth. It should be about creating a future that's equitable, sustainable, and, ultimately fulfilling for everyone. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring.